another series called Race Against Time. And the story was an adaptation of a kid's book series that I enjoyed, and I knew the author. When people would come up to my table, black, white, whatever, and they see blackjack, and they look at me, oh, okay, that's cool, right? They'd come up and they'd see Race Against Time, which looked closer to this, different art style, but closer to this. Jamal Igle did the illustrations, right? And it threw them. They didn't know quite what to say. And again,
is that a race or race race?
Yeah, well, that was one of the questions, is it time travel so that white people, and then some would actually say, how come you're doing a white book? I said, well, actually, the book's got a lot of colors in it, I don't play that. I don't play that game. If you would walk up to Random House and say, how can you publish a book with black characters or Chinese characters or Hispanic characters, what would they say to you? The door's over here, okay? But you wouldn't ask that question. So why would you reverse the question? It's really about perception, and it's really about what you will accept from us or from them. It's about your voice. It's about your dollar. Your dollar really dictates a lot of what happens, including the price of these things. Like you said, $3 for a 22-page pamphlet? Okay, if you're cool with that, then that's what you're going to pay. But if you decided $2 is a max, I don't care what you do, $2 is all I'm paying, they find a way to roll it back. They would do it. What happened to them in the 80s when they went stupid with multiple covers, and all that craziness, and every book that you bought was going to be worth money, right? It was an investment in your future. When they went through that nonsense, and the rest of you went, oh, hell no. And then suddenly retailers were stuck with boxes of books that they paid for, which is why a lot of retailers went out of business, okay? Because they went broke. The industry really needed a wake-up call, and you gave it to them. And that's really the way all this works. Women in comics, people of color in comics, I don't care, whatever it is, you dictate what comes, and not the other way around. And that's where I would like to see more happen. I'd like to see, like with the Catwoman thing, the article about it was about a page, maybe 3/4 of a page. The comments, I was scrolling for days reading the comments, and it was pro-con. But yeah, your voices, that's where it really is. You're the power. We are artists and skilled, yes, because she's really good. And we bring our best to you, but you tell us whether or not it works. So I think that's what you need to. And I'm enjoying this one here because I am, and I want some Cheerios later. Because oh, okay, good. You take those because I don't forget about the kids. She may start reading from reading a comic book, whether it's mine or his or hers or whatever, it doesn't matter. At some point she may outgrow it, fine, cool. She might grow up to do it, that's great. But she's not insignificant to me. And every age in between. And just like in mainstream publishing, they have different age groups. They have different genres and different age groups, We should have the same thing here. There shouldn't be a situation where it's all about people who are lonely and want to have something to stare at when it's a date. Should be, I went there, and I'll go there again if I have to. It's really about the readership, and and again, it's up to you guys to sort of take.
I think it's already happening because the way we see it's going right now, it seems kind of desperate what they're doing, and the fact that it made Starfighter is so overtly sexual like that, over the top. Before it was kind of into that, but now
same thing with Catwoman. It was suggested,
But now they show the sex on the roof.
Yeah. Well,
so I think they're trying to hold their tricks. They know how to get the readership going, but I think it's out of desperation.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue with it.
On that, let's float it. Let's open it up to questions. So, any questions from the floor? Sir.
Alex, you were talking about the comic shops that went out of business. When Marvel got into distribution, how did that cause shops to go out of business?
Well, you had in the mid-'90s at least, which is when I got into the business intensely, you had Capitol, you had Diamond, and you had
Comics Unlimited.
You had several distribution outlets. When Marvel said, okay, we're going to own this one, that was a major problem because then it became a war. It became Marvel was only going to ship through their distributors. So stores not using their distributors couldn't get Marvel books. Well, hell, we can't not have Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and so forth. So now we got to figure something out. Well, the other titles went, well, wait a minute. Diamond went, hey, okay, we want exclusive deals. So we're only going to handle DC, and I think there's a couple of others in there. So it became a war, and of course, once that happens, we lost. Anybody in the independent situation, we were caught. You know, I mean, one of the ones that went down was one of the better supporters of independent comics. Well, they were gone now. So again, it became this war between Marvel stores who couldn't deal with the battle, who couldn't work the deals, they couldn't get the products. The other thing was, again, multiple titles. One book having the same issue, having 4 or 5 different covers. It's embossed. It's done by 3 different artists. You know, it's inverted. You know, it's all that. And you got to get all of them. Well, okay, is it $2.95 a pop? You buy all that? Well, somebody finally went. The crowd finally went. No. You know, I went from spending $100 a month to $300 a month. I can't pay the rent. No. So the retailers were, but I bought all these books. Well, too bad. So, no money, they went down. I think when I entered the business, it was something like 10,000 independent comic book stores in the United States. By 1998, we were down to about 3,000, 4,000. And of that, about 200 to 300 ordered the majority of the books, were the biggest buyers of books. So once again, it's a bottleneck. If they didn't do independence, if they didn't do the wildcat kind of stuff, you had no place to go, and the stores would dry up. Yes, I'm sorry, you, moderator.
Do you think the direct distribution hurt comics?
Yes, and?
Because when we were growing up, I don't know, I see a few faces my age or older, I mean, we got comics at the candy store, right? We were exposed to them, and then there were a few specialty shops like Mike's Comic Cut in Flushing. I don't know if anyone remembers that place. Yeah. And we used to travel for our back issues. But you were able to go to the local candy store, the direct market. And I'm saying this as a small business owner with Silver Age Comics in a train station.
Oh, hey there.
I'm 20 years, but I got to tell you, the last 8 years have been brutal.
I think it did. Yeah.
So, and I've been on panels like in Chicago and San Diego, and I bring this up, and everyone like shuns it, like put it out to the candy stores again. Let the kids see them, be exposed to them, you know, and more people will start reading because it is a shrinking market.
Well, I'll say, yes, that would happen, but one of the reasons, and I'm not saying I agree or whatever, but one of the reasons that the candy stores and the newsstands started to lose the business, why they wanted direct marketing, was because, let's say you put out 1,000 books, you send out 1,000 books. Oh, wow, I sold 1,000 books. But then 600 could come back to you. Yeah. And 600 could come back to you with the covers torn off. So now you've got 600 books that you can't sell. So that was hurting folks in a big way. So that was a problem. That was a problem. So I mean, you have to work it out. But again, we're also, you know, we got to look at where technology is right now. People are downloading a lot of stuff. I don't mean you can't make money off of it.
Yeah, how do you make money? Like, who pays
that's
for it?
That's a whole nother.
If everyone is downloading, and you know, today's generation, let's face it, they don't buy music and they don't buy comics. So if everyone's downloading, who's going to pay you guys?
Good question.
Again,
who's going to pay you guys? And if you guys aren't getting paid, then the creativity gets lost. And then it's just a bunch of bloggers and hacks just putting out mediocre work. I mean, that's just basically a disgruntled comic book store owner.
Well, actually, we've got a response here in the front. Did you want to speak on that?
Actually, one of the biggest news articles I saw was like Barnes & Noble's not going to pick up DC anymore. It's that simple fact they want to use their Nook app. And I was like, well, this is one technology that guys my age actually bought a Nook. It's like, wow, I can get comics on it. And then, wait a minute, I can't get comics on it? Then why the hell did I buy a Nook? And it was really, it kind of had, that's what's actually happening right now. It's like, it's going to be like, who's going to carry the big comic book now? Is it going to be the Androids? It's going to be the iPod? Should I go to Comixology? Should I buy it from Lush?
Right,
It's getting to the point where, like, I have like my little nephew, and he's smiling. He goes, "Oh, I just got the comic book. Oh, you bought it?" And like, no. And he smiles at me like, "Yeah, you know, power to like, you know, the little man." I'm like, "Dude, you're stealing from the little man. Stop doing that. You get caught. You're just a kid, and mom and daddy are gonna do some time."
Which was his initial plot to begin with.
But as I'm saying, you have like comic books, and again, I'm an independent artist, and I got a book. Again, what you're saying, I got a book where this girl really wanted me to do a transgender Pinocchio story. I was like,
Some interesting images.
I was like, I'm intrigued, but I'm not sure I have the creative grasp to draw it. Because one, I don't know anything about that culture.
Do your research, but okay.
But she was like, no, I said, you should draw like this. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I think it's like independent. You have to be careful. Like for me, it's I have to be careful what I touch because I don't know. I don't see what I know. And if I'm trying to sell it, who am I going to sell it to? The Android users, the Nokia users, the iPad users.
Those are the questions. So
Yeah, how many devices?
Another panel.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm both kind of nervous and excited to see that this family, we started a comic studio in Flushing, Queens. It's called Yamcha Studios, and we're launching our first comic in November called Dim Sum Warriors.
I love it. Okay.
And we're going to release it on the iPad first, and then the Kindle Fire, which has color. So we're gonna do those two things, and then iPhone this photo.
You brought some literature, right?
We just
Yeah, we kind of stumbled on this.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I want your information before I leave here. Dim Sum Warriors, I've got to check that out.
Yeah, and I think your prophecy is good. She's going to grow up in the industry.
This is where I'm the man, right?
I think we have time for about one more question, folks. We're going to be moving on. Yes.
I'd like to know, with the big heads, Marvel and DC, they do a lot of violation of continuity, so many times. Doesn't that take away from the history as far as it goes to, like veteran readers? I don't know about the new readers, but to like the old folks that were with them for so long, they make all these changes, and it creates a lot of confusion and stuff like that. You don't know anymore what is what.
Well, how do I look at this? Yes, and Batman, when I started reading him, was the 50s. And it was old chum. He smiled a lot. And he and Robin were having a good time kicking butt and taking names. And a lot of goofy-looking aliens would show up. Nixius Pitlick, and that was Superman. They had Batmite. They had all these things, right? And and some cool stories, and then some really off-the-wall stories. But okay, that was it. And Superman and him were chums. They got along. They did things together. You get into about the 60s, the story started to get a little bit stiff. And then late 60s into the 70s, we got the social issues. And Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams started to bring in a lot more of that. The famous Green Lantern, Green Arrow, moving across America. So change is inevitable, especially with iconic characters. Any character that lasts longer than a month and a half. But Archie even. I've read some of the older stuff, and there's some stuff in there where there's some big lit people. But the bottom line is Archie is now Archie of this generation, which is why Kevin Keller is in this series, which is why there are so many different types of folks in the series now, which is why Obama popped up in the series. Change is going to come. It's uncomfortable for some of us who enjoyed a certain feel, a certain storyline, a certain, it's connected to our past and all that. And our basic options are wait for them to put out Hall of Fame issues, see if somebody turns out a couple of stories that do appeal to us, maybe the changes are going to be cool, or say goodbye to what we had and let the folks who are coming up now enjoy what they have. It's hard, but that's unfortunate. That's life.
You could do some slasher stuff too. You could write your own fiction on there.
I do a lot of that stuff, but I just think that the violation of continuity is like.
Well,
You buy a lot of great cheap books on the auction today.
yeah, but I think when you say a violation of continuity, to me that's different from what, let's say, DC is doing with 52. They're starting it all over again. They're starting a whole, but give me a moment for a moment. They're starting a whole new history, okay? They're saying we're starting from square one. As opposed to, within the continuity of the universe, suddenly you've got a character who would never have killed anybody, but suddenly is wiping people out. You know, suddenly you've got a character who was kind and almost innocent and trying to find himself, suddenly becoming totally lustful and able to jump anybody that doesn't move fast enough. So, I mean, I think continuity is, like within movies, there's certain things that you set up. I should be able to see that continue from the beginning to the end of the film. When you start changing it midway because you feel like it, then I have a problem. But here, again, they're starting a whole new universe. And whether or not it's the place we want to be, time will tell.
The reboot.
Yeah, they're rebooting.
Could I get a round of applause? You can absolutely be signing. You'll have another chance to speak to our illustrious and illuminating panel. And we'll be doing a discussion about comics, grading, and collecting in about 10 or 15 minutes.